All right. Good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital. I'm going to spend Thanksgiving night here. I'm going to take a look at some charts KenH has graciously provided for the research weekend. This is his draft presentation. I'm going to take a look at the slides. He's recording a voiceover of it, but I'm just going to take a look at the slides and see what we got. So knowing him, it's going to be pretty amazing. So what he's learned about trading in life. So let's take a look. Quick look at his condition here in early 2020. This was prior to COVID. As a software engineer, he reviews an extensive set of investment ideas. He's done research on portfolio application from all the correct names in the business: Bogle, Brown, Faber, Swenson, Dalios, and various CTAs. He's been basically using 25% trailing stops on his longer term trades using moving average crossovers. William O'Neill's 8% from Can Slim, or some multiple of an ATR stop. Had trust issues of working with newsletter experts. He has been on a journey to look for how to build a better mousetrap. Jack Schwager, legendary name in the literature there. What are they? The series he did. Dr. Tharp was in one. I'm drawing a blank on it. So it's a well-known series, like Master Traders or something like that. That led him to Dr. Tharp and me. He learned blended month rebalancing from me, so he's been looking at that in every dimension. He took the swing day and research weekend courses. For being honest, we would say he was dabbling and experimenting, not fully committing, studying from afar, I would say, using all the good tools. He moved money into 3 sophisticated no-lose investment funds just as COVID was hitting. Then the journey up the mountain. And he really did commit to accelerated learning because of the opportunity that volatility creates. He was motivated to sharpen his focus, got fully immersed into the nightly podcast, did his apprenticeship through hard work and feedback, and made new friends in the community of practice that he's continuing to work with, forming his own mastermind. At the moment of courage, his very first frame post in Campfire, there it was on May 24th, 2020. He found it very useful to review the hand-drawn concept sketches and making his own. Over Thanksgiving, he committed to a 3-day process of experimenting and crushed 29R in 3 days. And then he got into the hot seat bar by bar, where he was trading in public with feedback, bar by bar. And it was so good. He and the 3 or 4 folks that were going through those, that we built a workshop out of it. That's available. Maybe the most legendary lesson in there is the wait and see lesson, in which he and we discovered just exactly how trade framing leads to the zero state. The background on that one was that he had traded a series that were very good, properly done, and he felt full, so he ended up exiting. And it was a perfect opportunity to trade frame. And so I asked him, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to frame this trade now or wait and see what happens? And he chose wait and see. And we went through a discovery learning to rehearse what would happen if he just waited and saw, waiting to see what price was going to do. And the entire idea there, the central idea, was that a wait and see attitude is conceding control to price, that you're waiting for price action to happen to cause you to react into a frame for fear of missing out, as opposed to instantly framing the trade and deciding where you would enter in either direction, and then using that rehearsal to define what the risk box was. And let me try to recreate that moment, because it's still with me now. It was a great learning moment for me too, in terms of like how to train this, how to teach it, how to do it. So the situation was something like this. He had made a series of trades and then exited right here. And then the question was, well, what are we going to do? Wait and see? So then if it had started to fall, the idea, I fear of missing out, he would want to jump in. The monkey mind would then cause him to jump in and then try to frame it. Or it might have started going back up, and where are you going to get in? And the wait and see attitude relinquishes control to the market. And so what we learned was instead to instantly frame. And we just said, well, instead of waiting for price to happen and then seeing where you were triggered into action, let's just imagine I'm going to start moving the price up, and then you tell me where you would want to get in. And then it turned out to be, right there. That would cause me to get in. All right. So let's frame that as an entry. Now, what if I was going this way? What would be the price that would tell you in your gut that it's failing? And it right there. So we said, all right, those are the two. We just uncovered the triggers. So now we have calibrated the uncertainty zone. You might think of that as the yellow zone, that here was a price. Above there was green. We wanted to be long, and below this price, he wanted to be short. So that would be red. So that makes this in the middle, the uncertainty. So now the question is there two of those? I think he uses three. Are there three of those above and three of those below in terms of reasonable, not surprising moves? And if so, then and only then you have a trade frame. So he went ahead and framed that trade, and he got right back into the next series. And I forget which direction it went. But the whole idea was, don't wait. That wait and see takes you completely out of the zero state, and you're burning energy and you're raising uncertainty, and the fear of missing out is depleting your emotional bank account. You're burning gasoline there. So instantly trade frame in order to get it out of your head and onto paper, into a blueprint, into a template, and instantly regain the zero state. So in terms of, hey, how do you get back into the zero state? Frame the next trade. That's all. So that one is legendary. And he and I still laugh about that one. It's so good. The 5 hindrances to self-master, I'm going to tell him spelling. This is a Kung Fu master who talks about committing to the journey and the 2 mistakes that you can make: not starting and then not going all the way. Sort of reminds me of the tree. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago or right now? And then Meeting fellow journeymen in the roundabout. So we talk about the roundabout, the true story circle, as a place in which you rest, you recuperate, you reset, you refine, all of the R words, and that the walking man comes to the circle. The walking man has those 5 ways of knowledge: head, heart, gut, hands, and feet. And each one of those 5 knowledges make you holistic on your journey. And then in the roundabouts is where you do all of those R words. And other people are in there, and you have camaraderie and friendship and resetting and research and relating. And he's learned along the way the duties of an apprentice. He does masterful work setting up charts for his learning and his training, which also turns out to be amazing work for the rest of the community of practice. And he's a model of proficiency because of that. Real commitment to doing the work. Can't wait to hear that's part of the story. So his workshop of the walking man, I'm looking forward to this one, kind of the before, during, and after. And he's used this basic process of plan, prepare, execute, and assess, and the sustains, improves, and actions to just get better every day on the basis of assessing the trading that he's doing and assessing the planning, the prep, the execution. These little commitments to action with accountability become really important. You just pick a couple and go. And so he's gone from this state of mind. This is dabbling. That's lack of commitment, usually from fear. And don't confuse activity with results. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Basic processes, documentation, self as study, as the study object. They're researching into self. We've been using, standard planning tools that he and I are both familiar with from work, modified SWOTs, developing routines and habits, knowing the edges, tightening up the ship, all of the mindset tools. How slick is that? He's got everything color coded too. The willpower. Specific pieces of training on the techniques. Specific patterns he focuses on relentlessly. The idea no lose plus dinner for 2. The exit managers of fireman, sniper, manager. That's another thing we worked out together that just nothing better. The 2R battle drill. Those are the techniques, man. Finding the movers and rapid framing drills so that you can be ready in an instant. Managing the risk all the time in every trade. Key performance indicators. And then specific tools that he's learned to apply, including some automation, TradeStation, interactive brokers, the TC2000 bundle. And so in his trading universe, his trading world, he's learned the importance of focusing on the span of manageable control, understanding how markets, patterns, and context affect the idea of the multi-time frame, multi-lens analysis, how that creates fractal patterns that we can use. He frames a dozen candidates so he has more than he can possibly use. So he always has something to use. And then ruthlessness on position size. And so where this gets him to is the professional bear. Let the fish come to you. Do you think anything's going to move you out of your position once you find it? No, you're a bear. You're a pro. Let them jump in your mouth. So now his mindset has become patient, focused, and serene. His will has become energy efficient, no waste, and he builds reserves before he needs them. On the training, he has become experienced, professional, has refined his trading practice. He has the survival skills to feed his family, and he has become thick-skinned and disciplined by working with feedback that is honest and objective and designed to improve him. And so he's learned to develop precision, location, context, the 80-20 rule, and that it's better to master one thing and then move on. Wow, what a chart that is. Look how the pathway from high energy, busy, and efficient to working on technique, which translates into energy efficient, no waste. Boy, that's genius work right there. Now there's a series of deeper lessons on plan, prepare, execute, and assess. God, this is so good. The objectives, framing the market with all the techniques, market, sector, and company. That's our universe. Running it through the tortoise filter, making trade frames for those that are greater than 3-to-1 reward to risk, develop a dozen targets, execute and assess, get the feedback on the frames, then execute those first come, first serve, and then assess with the nightly and the weekend reviews. Incorporates diversity, anticipation. Do we have time to make the trade and so forth? Efficient use of capital. Always has something to work on, multiple systems, time frames linked together by hybrid trading, keeping the accounts separate for efficient documentation and taxes, well-defined universe, well-defined strategy, the power of critical states, pinches and dojis. Boy, this is going to be a good briefing. Under preparation, the most important one, visualizing, working to get the time frames that are right for you, and that overreactions on higher time frames will lead you to SSCs or 1, 2, 3s on the lower time frames, like that critical state, that critical state. There's the SSC. There's the collapsing dragon, but it's a critical state. It can work in either direction. The higher time frames lead you to recognizable patterns on the lower time frames and make very clear those key price levels. Where do you add to our battle drills? Getting the feedback, adaptive learning, the importance of position size versus execution risk to prevent blowing up, and limiting to a percentage of the account for cases where you have very small minimum manageable risk boxes. The all-important trading management, the set of decisions you make that are standard work until price kicks you out. And then the idea of the trade framing question. Man, this is the whole workshop in one briefing. It's nice. Key points he's learned from execution. mental prep and visualizing, the advantage of putting the swing orders in the night before, more orders than are needed so that he always has something to do and he can always cancel them later, tweaking with the morning hooks for the morning swings, using multiple time frames to zoom in and zoom out in order to front run when time permits, standardizing his decision-making and logic chain of when to move to no lose plus dinner for two, having flexible plans for trailing stops, whether it's the PSAR, the Bollinger Band mean, the Wu-Wei exit, dragons, wrist boxes, 1, 2, 3s, and then practice on adding scoops at low risk moments that are also critical states. The 4 things you got to have: time, pattern, will, and money. And you can see the patterns that he focuses on and the way he frames with the multi-time frame, multi-lens, and then specific lessons pertaining to the time frame, how to convert from intraday to swing, and then from swing to core. So growing the trade into the longer time frames with markets money. Man, he's done a nice job on this. And notice how he is fractal in the way that he's learning process. Reviewing the game film for feedback, always measuring against the objective. Are my rules working? How can I improve my rules? Evaluating the trade management for timing, trailing, about re-entering, asking for the feedback when he has questions, fixing mistakes, fixing blind spots, learning how to scale, and applying public feedback. That's why when you test for your black belt, you do that in front of the whole dojo. For his mindsets, bewaring biases, reducing cognitive load, learning to sit on your hands. For training, drills and simulations, you revert to the level of training. So thus the importance of bar by bar training in that workshop. His advice was to lower the price to $400 so more people would take advantage of it. Figuring out what he can, what tools he needs, what tools he has. Maintenance of excellence means training every day. Boy, is this good. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. And I would say wish, be. How long should you try until it's not what you get, it's what you become? Wow. Working on motivation and purpose, nurturing and wellness for the long run, contentment, satisfaction, gratitude, daily. I do it 4 times a day. consistency. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. You are what you practice. Be organized, get better at time management. The VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, dealing with it. That's the market we want. That's what you want. That's what creates the trade. He's working with me on the values-based coaching with the Danish philosophers. I'm going through that workshop. He's watching over my shoulder as my accountability partner. Next steps. Being creative about refining the process, recovering and redeeming his time, simplify, optimize, organize. Beautiful. He needs some work on this one. Wider application of fractal patterns, automation through Python with the Python working group, and then team collaboration with trusted others that have also been walking the path. That's how you find out who you want to work with. Watch how they work in public. That's how they're going to work in private. And then a set of one-offs, probably some specific lessons. I'm going to let him talk through that. The use of lower time frames to visualize the 1, 2, 3. So again, you got the on the daily and the 30-minute, one of his favorite pairings. That's the critical state. That's the same box. There's your SSC. There's your kata 2. And that gives you that move with very manageable, recognizable patterns. And on 30 minutes per bar, you got plenty of time to work it. It's forever. Stalking the morning hook. So on mornings like this, we saw that with the Tesla trade yesterday. Big gap down and reversal up. I wonder if that was Tesla. No, this is Wheaton. But yeah, there's the gap down, harsh sell-off, and then the reversal up. And that thing's going to trade up to here with a nice entry. And that's how he identifies the big gap down. And that's the difference between -6 and +2 is how you find exactly that pattern using the TC 2000 bundle. That's how you find the movers. And this is the importance of this one was questioning. He was questioning the decisions he had made after the fact. And so when we I remember this lesson from a couple of weeks ago when we worked through the choices that he made that were like getting out of this one and then re-entering, even though it's scratched. There was no way to know at this moment that it was going to do this when it could just as easily have done that. And instead of getting the 1.5, he just scratched a beautiful move. And that was, his reflective learning was to discuss that in public. And that allowed us to walk through the psychological response to the different scenarios. And that was a very instructive learning point that day. And then why you reframe all the time to account for the limitations of your assumptions. Normally you find yourself in a condition X and you think, well, these other things, these scenarios could all happen. And so I'm going to make an assumption A, which says, if it goes that way, I'm going to be fine. The reason you reframe in both directions is because if price invalidates that and instead it does this, unless you reframed it in both directions, you're not prepared to take the trade that is there. You can only trade it when your assumptions prove true. Well, if that's a coin flip, and when you're framing from a critical state, it's always a coin flip. And so here's one where he made 30R, but then missed another 30R from not doing this reframing. So the lessons learned. The easy way out of this one, but hey, I made 30R, I'm doing something right. And he's immediately able to see how he didn't do it right, or he just didn't do what could have been right, right? This one is the way he's using the swing screens to help him find those trade frames on the shorter time frame. Then how he sets up his intraday so that he has segments based on sectors, the ones that are on the short, where he has a short side bias that he's looking to stalk in that direction, the ones where he's stalking the long side, and then his stalking group, and then his position on group. So he has planning, preparing, stalking, and then actually managing trades so that he is focusing his attention on the different parts of, it's almost like progressive cooking. Really nice work there. I see KenH has snuck in when we weren't looking. So he must have heard us talking about him. His ears are burning. So really nice work, Ken. 2 spelling errors to fix. Attention to detail. It looks really good. Can't wait to listen. Want to see your histogram. Really good work. To the guys that are listening, any questions before we get out of here? An amazing piece of work. The briefing wasn't amazing. He's just documenting the real amazing piece of work, which was what he was doing every day in an organized way. That's the mark of a guy that's serious. That's the work of a serious person. So nicely done. All right, guys, get back to your families. Enjoy the rest of Thanksgiving. Yeah, he does set an amazing example. Makes us all better. Take good care, guys.